am Jovelyn Empillo, a Bachelor of Science in Nursing student of Colegio de Santa Lourdes of Leyte Foundation Incorporated. And today, I will discuss all about the Archaea domain. So, what we will tackle is about the definition of Archaea, the extremophiles, and we'll cite some examples of this. So let's go. It is an Archaea or Archaea domain. Archaea domain is any of a group of single-celled prokaryotic organisms. That is organisms whose cells lack a defined nucleus. So, gidiscuss na han prokaryotic cell structures na angadahan may phylogenetic tree of life, an Archaea, which belongs to the prokaryotic cells and prokaryotic cells Archaea nucleus. So definitely nucleus and Archaea. So that have distinct molecular characteristics separating them from bacteria. So bacteria is also a prokaryotic cell pero mag-iberahan Archaea. The other more prominent group of prokaryotes, as well as from eukaryotes or organisms including plants and animals, whose cells contain a defined nucleus. So, an eukaryotes amatiran may nucleus, as membrane-bound organelles. Archaea is derived from the Greek word archaeos, which means ancient. So, it means an Archaea exists dati pa. Archaea's shape can be spherical or circular, rod, spiral, lobed, rectangular, or irregular in shape. An unusual flat square-shaped species that lives in salty pools has also been discovered. And some exist as single cells, others form filaments or clusters. Until the 1970s, this group of microbes was classified as bacteria. Before kasi, diripayton hiya nadidetermine an Archaea and bacteria. So, dati, Archaea is considered bacteria gihap. Pero, nakita na may differences. So, they were divided into Archaea and bacteria. An extremophile. So, Archaea, they live in extremophiles. So, sumiring nga na kita nga extremophiles, amad kayaan extreme environments. So, sobra ka hagkot, sobra ka paso, sobra ka acidic. So, amit at extremophiles. So, example, it acidophiles. So, acidophiles nga ni, amit it extreme acidic environment. Tapos, meron nga alkali-philes. So, extreme alkaline environment. So, amit at extremophiles. So, example, Sulfolobus is an extremophile that is found in hot springs and thrives in acidic and sulfur-rich environments. So, and Sulfolobus, they live in mga acidic, extreme acidic and sulfur-rich environments. Tapos, extreme or hot springs. So, Sulfolobus is an example of an Archaea which lives in extremophiles. Another example of extremophile is the Methanococoides mortine. So, Methanococoides mortine is an extremophile and was discovered in 1992 in Ice Lake. Antarctica and can survive in temperature as low as negative 2.5 degrees Celsius. So, freezing point na ito, negative 2.5 degrees Celsius. So, basically, ang methanococoides bortine nakakakuyaha extreme cold environment. Now, let's discuss the algae. So, under the topic algae, we will discuss the definition of the algae. Is it a plant or not? And how do algae make their own food? And then, why is algae the beginning of food chain? And then, why is the color of the algae green, red, brown, or yellow? So, let's go. What is algae? Algae is the name given to a large and diverse group of oxygenic, phototrophic, eukaryotic microorganisms. So, sumiring nga kita nga phototrophic, ito niyan organisms that uses light as their energy source. As oxygenic, kay they use light as energy source for growth and produce oxygen as a byproduct. Siya oxygenic phototrophs. This differentiates them from bacteria and oxygenic phototrophs. So, oxygenic phototrophs and uses light as their energy source for growth and produces oxygen as a byproduct like plants. So, what distinguishes algae from plants? So, algae do not have any tissue differentiation. Unlike plants na plants can differentiate their tissues into roots, stem, trunks, leaves, and all very different tissue types. In contrast, algae are composed of cells that are generally all the same. Already answered the question, is algae a plant or not? So, but let's discuss it still. So, algae is not a plant. It has no roots or stems. Despite the difference between plants and algae, many algal species are very closely related to plants. But the algae are very diverse, and some algae like Jovelyn are closer evolutionary to single-celled protozoa than to plants. The main unifying characteristic that determines if a species is considered an algae is that all algae contains or have a very recent ancestor that contained a chlorophyll A. Found or find algae. Algae can be found in nearly any environment that is moist and receives enough sunlight for them to grow. Wet soils and both fresh and salt water are usually teeming with algae. They are one of the major members of the oceanic phytoplankton community. When we say phytoplankton, it is free-floating. Phytoplankton are the large populations of free-floating microbes found throughout the oceans. That's what I've said earlier. It is estimated that these planktonic algae and cyanobacteria are responsible for the 80% of the total photosynthesis on Earth. Algae grow on rocks, soil, or vegetation as long as there is enough moisture. A few algae form very close partnerships with fungi to form lichens. So, if mag-combine an algae and fungi, they will produce another organism which is lichens. Algae make their own food. So, they get sunlight, water, carbon dioxide, chlorophyll, so to go through the process of photosynthesis, which is among gihap-an processan pag-ayadhan food, fuel or energy han plants. So, algaologists amoy tanhiraan nag-studyhan algae. So, algae is a major producer of oxygen, and it is a eukaryotic microorganism. So, why is algae the beginning of food chain? Algae is the beginning of food chain simply because it is a producer. Because they produce their own food and they can be eaten. And as what the scientists said nga, tanan ko no nga algae is pwede kaunon, pero depende lang gyud ito hayo mo. So that's it. Now let's discuss about the lichens. So what we'll tackle in this topic is the definition of lichen. What is lichen made of? What is the types of lichens? So first, the definition of lichen. Lichen is a combination of two organisms, a green algae or alga or cyanobacterium and an ascomycete fungus living in a symbiotic relationship. So with lichen, it is composed of a fungus and an algae. So fungus, example, an alamag or an mushroom. As algae, example, and lumot. So, an fungus and an algae, they work together via symbiotic relationship or symbiosis. So meron nga kita nga symbiosis, it is a relationship between two different species of organisms that are interdependent. So, interdependent kay they depend on each other. Whereas algae normally grow only in aquatic or extremely moist environments, lichens can potentially be found on almost any surface, especially rocks, or as epiphytes, meaning that they grow in other plants. So that's the definition of lichen. In some ways, the symbiotic relationship between lichens and algae seems like a mutualism. Mutualism nga ni, it is a relationship in which both organisms benefit on each other. So the fungus can obtain photosynthase from the algae or cyanobacterium, can grow in a drier environment than it could otherwise tolerate. However, most scientists call this symbiotic relationship as parasitism. So, sumaring nga kita nga parasitism, a relationship in which one organism benefits and the other is harmed. Because the photosynthetic organism grows less well than it would without the fungus. So, parasitism. Can be grouped according to their morphology. So, lichens occur in one of four basic growth forms. So, the four types of lichens are crustose lichen, squamulous lichen, foliose lichen, and fructicose lichen. So, sa mga nga nakita nga crustose, it is crust-like, crustose, growing tight against the substrate. Then, the squamulous, it is tightly clustered and slightly flattened pebble-like units. Then, foliose, it is a leaf-like with flat sheets of tissue not tightly bound. Then, lastly, the fructicose, which is the free-standing branching tubes. So, those are the four types of lichens: crustose, squamulous, foliose, and the fructicose. Now, let's talk about the definition and what is all about protozoa. So, protozoa is a eukaryotic organism together with the algae. So, it is a single-celled eukaryote. It commonly shows characteristics usually associated with animals, most notably mobility, or when we say mobility, it is the ability to move freely, and heterotrophy. So, protozoa belongs to the kingdom Protista. So, it is too small to be seen by our naked eye. It is about 0.01 to 0.05 millimeters. The study of protozoa is called protozoology, and then the people who studies protozoa are the protozoologists. We found protozoa. So, it is said that most of the free-living organisms the protozoa is found in soil, water, aquatics, or in the moist environments. So, the first person to see protozoa was Anton van Leeuwenhoek. As protozoa reproduce. So, protozoa reproduce by both sexual or asexual reproduction, though sexual reproduction is less common and occurs in certain groups. Most protozoa reproduce asexually by cell division, producing two equal or sometimes unequal cells. In some protozoa, multiple fission or schizogamy is known to occur. So, schizogamy, the process of reproduction. Protozoa due to our body. Protozoa that spread through unclean food or water usually affect the digestive system by living and multiplying in the intestines. Other organs can be affected as well as the parasite spreads. So, protozoa that are transmitted through an insect bite usually cause a fever and inflammation among other physical problems. So, that was our discussion about protozoa.